Happy December 6th. We are, I don't know what that song was. I don't know if you guys heard that. But welcome to the third episode of Reasonable Arguments, News and Nonsense. I guess we just like doing this now. We're just going to talk every day and whoever listens, right?
Yeah.
I guess
put it
it's
out there, and
I guess that's how we do this.
until people give us some direction of either not listening or telling they want to hear us more or less. But this is the third time this week. So
Yeah. Nobody in the family said anything, so I'm assuming nobody's listening to us at all. But
that's okay.
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
we could talk bad about them and then see if they respond.
That'd be great. I don't know why my little earphones are making noise here. Okay, so what do we have on the agenda for today?
Well, we're called Reasonable Arguments, News and Nonsense, right? And so today's news is mostly about the assassination of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. And while most people kind of think of, me especially, as kind of a political person, that's the news. So do you want to talk about that?
I honestly, obviously, this is in my wheelhouse, right? I mean, my whole career, 30 plus years, was health insurance.
Assassin?
No, not assassin, but health insurance. I mean, that's, so, the first thing that pops into my mind is, it was done by a person whose family member had a claim they were sick and it was denied, and they appealed and it was denied. And, for whatever reason, that's the first thing that pops into my mind.
So I went to about 5 or 6 different news sources, and it's kind of interesting, a few of the facts that they all agree on. So you want to just let me throw out the facts as we know them, or
Absolutely.
The facts that they appear to the major news is agreeing about, know. First, he came from Atlanta November 24th on a Greyhound.
The assassin
on a Greyhound bus.
Okay.
This is interesting. They all agree that he was lying in wait for this particular person for about 5 minutes. So he knew this person's schedule.
But wasn't this, he was leaving for an early morning meeting, right? So it wasn't like something.
And the meeting was publicized publicly because it was
they went on with the meeting. They didn't even, he was killed and they went on with, because it was an earnings call, right?
They had to.
They had to go on with the call,
the Securities Exchange Commission requires them to. The other thing that was interesting is, and they're saying that it's not a professional assassin, but it certainly feels like somebody who had this planned out. For sure, the shooter definitely knew guns. The gun jammed after the first shot, and he unjammed the gun and shot more. So
it didn't look like that in the pictures.
That's the official report, is that it jammed after the first, maybe the first and second shot. He unjammed the gun and shot more. So under duress, he was somebody who was able to handle guns. So
he was definitely not flinching at all. And I think I heard that the gun that they think that he had, they have one being sold here in the U.S. in the U.S. But like, how does it get to a point to where they know this person left Atlanta, came to New York, did all of these things?
Facial recognition
software, but yet they have no idea who this person, because they haven't even released the name, right? Because
an alias. Here's the thing. They may know who he is and may know where he may be going and may be giving him false sense of security so they can catch him.
Just not even giving it.
So, but as of Friday afternoon at 3 p.m., that's the information we have as the public, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing is, and I didn't really realize this, after he shot, he used an alleyway for his getaway, and then he came almost back on the same street and came down and then left on an electric bike towards Central Park. And there's some question of whether he just happened upon this electric bike and got lucky, or if he placed the electric bike there because the bike was a block or two away from the shooting. And so, or at least on the other side of the building and about a half a block away. So he certainly, it seems like, had a plan, especially if he planted that back. And they're not saying that the bike was stolen. So you would think that would be part of a police report that would be publicly available by now. It's been 3 days. And so, of course, the shell casings, had inscribed upon them, denied, defended, depose, which is the name of a book about, health insurance companies not paying claims.
Right.
But if you were going to try to conduct an assassin hit, which they're not calling this, but wouldn't you put something like that on there for media and public consumption so that get people looking in a different direction just for a little while so you can make your escape?
So you don't think that's really truly on the bullet casings?
No, I believe it's on the bullet casings. I just question whether or not, if you're a professional, you would make a move like that. If you're a professional and you wanted to have a red herring, for instance, say, of course,
Just
everybody's going to talk
somewhere else.
Yeah, everybody's going to talk about how this is a disgruntled, health insurance
policy
consumer,
or whatever. Yeah,
right, consumer. And so, versus something else that this guy could have had on his life and going on in his life. And if he wasn't professional, and I still think, I think like everybody else that this is the particular person he wanted. But it's still possible that it's either mistaken identity or for whatever reason, he took 5 minutes to get the gumption to do this for whatever reason. And this guy just happened to be the guy walking by. Most people think that this was a targeted hit, whether it's a professional hit or not, a targeted hit on this particular CEO. But I don't know that they really have enough information yet to make that determination. They haven't found, they haven't said they found any notes or any manifesto or anything like that. So we really don't know the motivation behind this shooter yet. There's a lot of assumptions about the motivation, so there's a couple more facts I want to go through, but go ahead.
But there's, UHC had just some protests going on. I think they had 2 or 3 protests going on, specifically, being in this field for as many years as I was, the insurance companies aren't there to pay these claims. They will fight tooth and nail on everything. And, and then you have this guy that is making $10 million a year. Some astronomical number that he's making. And, he's walking on the streets of the city by himself in the morning, in the early morning. Is it common for people in that position to not have a bodyguard or not have some kind of security detail with them? I don't know.
So it seems like that's a 50-50 proposition, when I read these news reports. Of course, all the security firms are saying, of course, these CEOs should have protection and hire us. This UHC in particular has a little rule that they can't spend more than $10,000 on protection at any one time without board approval. So
I wonder if that's going to change.
It's probably changed in that meeting.
Jeez.
So another interesting thing is he stayed at a hostel. There were 2 other people who stayed in the same room with him. They've really not talked about these 2 people at all, other than to say they had nothing to do with it. But, the picture of him smiling that everybody has seen by now, if you watch the news.
I thought it was a woman when I first saw that.
So the reason why we have that picture is the receptionist at the hostel was flirting with him and asked to see his face. And so he pulls down the covering of his face and smiles to the receptionist because the 2 of them were flirting. True story. So if this whole thing unravels over face recognition software, it's because he was flirting with the receptionist. The look on your face is incredulous. I wish we were on. I wish we were.
I mean, when you
video now,
when you
your
look
face
at
just lit up.
Well, when you look at the picture, I mean, you can truly see that it was kind of like I don't want to say smitten kind of smile, but it was definitely a flirty smile.
It was a real smile. It wasn't like, oh, I'm taking a picture with somebody I don't like smile. He was flirting with the receptionist.
What a dumbass. Jeez.
So the other 2 things, and these are the last facts, believe it or not, that we have about this guy is that, and this probably plays into our last conversation about DNA, right? Was he stopped at a Starbucks, got a bottle of water and 2 protein bars, and they can't find this guy, but they were able to find the specific bottle of water that he drank and threw away and the wrappers from his 2 protein bars.
How is that even possible?
How indeed? Like, do they already have this guy under a jail somewhere? Like he might be in Guantanamo already, and we don't even know it.
What I don't even understand what the point would be. I mean, unless, oh my God, you talk about conspiracy theories and
The Guantanamo is definitely a conspiracy theory, not a fact. I was just throwing that out there as
no,
almost.
I get it, but I mean, for these are the things where it's like, you scratch your head and like, is this for real? Like, is this even real life that's happening? That how would they? I don't even understand how they get that.
They
Like
don't have. They're only showing the one video, right? So New York is one of the most video placed streets in the world.
I
All these
understand that.
streets.
So just
they have
because
tons
they
of video
follow
of this guy. They have video knowing
coming
where
up from the
they know the
subway.
exact path that the CEO took from his hotel to this place where he's having this meeting. They have all this. They're just not releasing it. So the question is,
so they see him coming up from the subway or whatever, coming up, going to Starbucks, knowing exactly the garbage that he threw his stuff in, which probably wasn't even at that Starbucks, probably somewhere else
down the street. Yeah.
Right. And
so they followed him with cameras over this whole period.
Now what I think I hear you're saying is that had we had his DNA at birth, we would know who this guy is already.
The truth of the matter is not if he's a foreign national and a foreign assassin.
Well, that could be.
But, I don't want my violates righted just so that we can catch a guy, 48 hours quicker than we're going to. I mean, you have to assume that we're going to know who this person is. They already know who he is. They're just not releasing it for whatever reason.
Right.
I mean, they have his face, they have his DNA. So they know who this person is. They're just not telling us who it is.
Not if he hasn't put his DNA anywhere.
I promise you they know who he is. They're just not releasing it because they probably know where he's at or where he's going. They probably don't know where he's at right now or they would get him. But they probably have an idea of where he's going or where he's going to be in this weekend.
Okay, so we go back to, we had a speaker one time with Sir Toma for U.S. hostage. And
that would be great, Laura. Yeah.
Talking about, wasn't it Citibank that had the 6 C-suite people?
Citgo. It was Citgo Oil, right?
Citgo Oil that had the 6 C-suite people on a plane that as soon as they got off the plane, they were taken hostage.
And then fired.
Right? Yeah, because the Citgo didn't want to pay the family benefits and all of that when their people were, is it something like that where UHC's like,
we're tired of our CEO, but we can't fire him?
We can't fire him.
Oh, wow.
We got
a conspiracy.
You didn't even think of that?
Oh, no.
I'm actually surprised you never even thought of that.
No, I went with, for whatever reason, the guy's probably under investigation with Epstein or something. And, the
UHC CEO?
Yeah. That he's involved with something like that.
That's because you've heard that on the news.
No, I did not hear that on the news. That's just, if we were talking about conspiracies, that's the conspiracy that went through my head, was that like, oh, he's somebody who, was at Diddy parties or Epstein Island or whatever. And then he's under investigation for something else. And as part of that investigation, he did a dump and, those folks took him out.
I would say the people at the top took him out.
The people at the top at the corporation.
Yeah, like who are the top people at UHC and where are they from?
And do you know that?
I don't know that.
Oh wow. So then it's kind of like, okay, so why would they kill him versus fire him? Like, is it just about his buyout? Like his buyout's too much that they would kill him? Is that where you're, without looking it up? I see that you're looking it up.
I was looking it up to see who the top investors are of UHC, if it would even give us that information of where they come from or who they are. I think he could have something on the company. I mean, he could have something on the company as far as, and I don't want it to be as menial as, why they deny claims or stuff like that. But, there just could be anything where they're like, this guy just may know a little bit too much and let's take him out.
Mm.
If they fire him, then he has all day, every day.
There's no question
to fight
the person who did this had some knowledge of certainly evading
the meeting.
They had research of the meeting. But you're not talking about like, oh, well, we found somebody's computer yet, or we found their phone, or we found them. Usually it's like, oh, somebody's Googling, and there's a search history of, at some point, I'm sure they went to Google and said, how many people have Googled when this meeting was? That's probably 50,000, 100,000 people. But
So
with
to
things
see-
like, geofencing, you immediately could, winnow that number down to, the number of people who have phones in New York who Googled that information, right? Because somebody had to find out that information somewhere. They
So
either
here's-
did a website, they did a Google search, they did something.
So here's a question. So obviously he doesn't live in New York. He comes into New York for the earnings meetings. I haven't read this, so I don't know this information.
Oh, the CEO.
Yeah. Like where does the CEO live? That he
No,
obviously
I did read this, and it's because they said wherever he lives is I won't call it a small town, but the small town. While his wife is quoted in a news article saying that he had received threats about, she called it people who are underinsured, and is from people that there were threats from people who were underinsured. The police chief of the town where he lives says that he had no knowledge of any threats. So they never reported any threats to the local police.
Can you imagine how many threats?
I can't imagine how many. Yes, right.
I've fired people who have called me and left messages on my phone threatening me. And when I took it to the police, they said there's literally nothing we can do unless they're standing in front of you,
right,
threatening you. So who are you going to report those to? I'm sure the company knew about them. He probably gets. He probably gets so many threats on a daily basis that it's not even. People just whatever
shrug it off, right?
Shrug it off, yeah. So, but okay. So the point is that he does not live in New York. He comes into New York for these meetings to have specifically the earnings call. That would be easy to find out. You could easily Google when the UHC earnings meetings are.
Right. My point is that I haven't Googled that, right? So you haven't Googled it.
Well, even if you're a UnitedHealthcare member, you would get some kind of documentation for them.
That's true.
They would send that information.
Well, even if you have it through Robinhood, like, Robinhood account says, oh, here's your earnings call, or this is where it's taking place, or whatever. So you don't even have to, you can have a portion of a share of stock through Robinhood and probably get that information without Googling it. But, my point is there's a finite number of people. It's 100,000, it's 1 million, it's 3 million, but you can geofence those folks and probably figure out pretty quickly, 95% of those were not in Atlanta or New York in the period of time in which we're talking.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you take all of those out, then now you have DNA, now you have facial recognition software.
You don't have DNA unless it was submitted.
Well, and
as a child.
They shouldn't.
Case
we're not going to revisit that one. We didn't get enough comments on that. But
have we gotten comments on any of your stuff?
Yeah, I get comments all the time.
Oh, yeah, I bet you do.
So, it'll be interesting to see. I think this is going to be the news story for this weekend, right? Like, I don't know, unless something else happens. So, my guess is that there will be some level of we found him, and then the drama around that will become the news story of the weekend. So,
it's just mind-boggling that they have all of this information and can't figure out who this person is.
They do. They just haven't told us. And therein lies, I don't want to say the problem. It's just we want to have the information as quickly as they.
Why would they not? What's the point of withholding the information?
They don't know where he's going to be. And if
they just haven't caught him.
Yeah.
So you don't think
I think it's still part of the investigation. Like, you have to assume. I mean, if this guy if they don't know who it is, number one, it is definitely a professional. And number two, it's somebody who probably came from outside the United States.
Yeah.
And they don't have a record of.
Well, did they ask the person at the hostel if he had a accent or?
They haven't released that yet. Obviously, she had a conversation with him.
She
so
did.
It sounded,
Wonder if she has any DNA.
Oh, boy. Well, that's where my mind went with the two people who he shared the room with, but evidently, no. That's what they're saying. They had nothing to do with him. They just shared a room in the hostel. So,
okay.
Well, that's what we know right now. I mean, but I'm sure there will be more this weekend. It'll be.
Maybe we should forego politics and just get into true crime.
We could do that if you want, but I don't know that.
I think this is all political. Honestly, this is. I mean,
I think it could very well end up being political.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not like Trump versus Harris political, but
yeah,
a level of political intrigue with which the public isn't normally aware.
Yeah. All right. So you want to get into my?
Yeah, we're past. That's what we know on this.
Well, we'll have to follow.
And we even speculated. We even put our own speculation on it a little bit. So
yeah, I'm thinking it's an inside job. I'm going to go with that. It's too simple to be a disgruntled person. That's been done, and
I'm going with foreign assassin.
Foreign assassin.
Foreign assassin.
Okay.
I'm being that specific.
Okay. All right. Well, we will have to definitely follow up with this, especially, when we hear more news.
Yeah.
All right. So my stories for today, and this one is probably, it's nonsense only in the fact that I'm so annoyed by it that like it makes me want to scream, honestly. So
it's important to know that when you come up with these stories, you have not shared them with me beforehand.
Right. Exactly.
You're getting my real response on the nonsense portion.
So I found this going, on my TikTok rabbit hole adventure one time yesterday, I think it was. And it's about a Senate subcommittee had hearings or published on Tuesday and disclosed publicly for the first time how budget carriers Frontier and Spirit are charging or actually incentivizing their staff for anybody that comes in with a carry-on bag that doesn't fit into the little box. They upcharge, right? To make it now a checked bag.
Yeah.
And they have paid out between Frontier and Spirit.
So you're saying you saw this on a U.S. Senate committee meeting?
Yeah. Aired on TikTok.
On TikTok. So now that it's on TikTok, it's nonsense. But if I were to bring it up, it would have been
I'm saying
political.
I'm not saying the story. The story is nonsense. What they're doing is nonsense.
Okay.
So they are from 2022 to 2023, they have paid airline workers $26 million in bonuses.
And that $10 a bag, that's 2.6 million bags.
No. So Frontier, they earn $10 for each oversized carry-on bag, right? Within 60 minutes of the passenger's departure. They earn $3 for carry-ons bought at the airport ticket counter and $3 for selling extra legroom seats. Okay. Spirit, they earn $5 for charging oversized carry-on bags. They also earn $5 for selling the big front seat and $4 for charging overweight check bags and $2 for selling exit row seats. Okay. So Frontier obviously paid the most money out at $18.8 million in bonuses. Now, this totally pisses me off because if you remember the one time we flew, and I can't remember what airline we were on, but we had weighed our bag before we went.
Yeah.
We stuck it on the thing, on the scale, and now all of a sudden we're overweight. And lo and behold, the jackoff has his foot on the scale.
Yeah.
And I called him on it.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And pulled his foot off, and sure enough, we weren't overweight. Like, this to me is so...
It's like the old thumb on the scale when you're, at the meat counter.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But they were showing videos of people putting their bags into the little box.
Yeah.
And because the handle was sticking out, it was too big. So it was a folding handle. So one woman went over and put the folding handle down. Oh, no, now you're pushing it down. You're compressing it.
Yeah.
So it still doesn't fit.
Yeah, right.
Another woman ripped the handle off. And the airline person didn't even know what to say at that point because they weren't expecting that, obviously. But this is to the lengths that they're doing it. Like, these bags are fitting inside of there. And because they're pushing the handle down, they're being told that it's too big.
Yeah.
This is disgusting. So they had these CEOs, they're probably going to get taken out next too because of this.
Whoa, let's not say that.
I'm not projecting that, but I mean, but these are the things that you do to people, that you pickpocket these people that are, number one, already paying so much to fly.
Right.
They've already paid for their stuff online.
Discount airlines, you don't save that much money, right? Like and I like,
you don't look at Allegiant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It'll cost us $78 to fly to Pittsburgh, but then you go to, and then the other thing they brought up was about the seats. So these are the only two airlines that ask you for your gender, your,
Weight?
I don't think they ask for your weight, but they ask you for your gender, and there's something else, and forgive me for not knowing what it was, but they're the only two people that ask you that information before it brings up the seats. And
what's the point in that?
Well, they asked him that, and he said, well, no, we just gather that information for, marketing or whatever. And he goes, why do you need it? United doesn't do it. American doesn't do it. All of the major airlines don't ask for this information. So why are you asking for this information prior to these people getting their seats assigned?
Or before they get them assigned, or before they're able to choose them?
Before they're able
to choose them. So does it
them.
change what things you see, whether you're male or female?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And like,
that's going to be a civil rights violation case coming towards them real quick.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be like asking for your DNA before you get on the plane.
They already have it. They already have it.
If they already had it, they would have caught this guy.
As soon as you get off and you have your hands on your armrest or whatever you touch, they're getting it.
Oh, they're getting it.
Yeah, they're getting it.
Yeah.
So that was my one story.
Okay.
So which just makes me mad. It just.
Oh, she has another.
Yeah.
Piece of paper
who are we flying next week?
Southwest. You know how much I love them.
They weren't in it. They're great.
No,
Southwest is great.
Well, they're going to be great once they start letting you pick your own seat.
Okay.
Because I guess unless they ask you your gender and assign you your seat by gender.
Oh, and also for this, certain managers at both airlines also earn commission if their airport or region met a specific monthly revenue goal from ancillary fees. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll
go on record. I don't have a problem with, incentivizing employees.
No.
For whatever, like, hey, listen, you're letting too many, slip by the goalie. So we're going to pay you a little extra money to make sure that, hey, if you should have a checked bag, check your bag. If you're a carry on. But I mean, it needs to be with clear direction that if, the tie should go to the consumer. Like
I think it should be if you want more leg room or you want to upgrade to first class, that should be where the incentive.
Well, we've all seen those people on the airline who bring in a suitcase. It's not a carry-on. It's a backpack, and they put too much crap in it. It doesn't fit. And then, it slows down the whole process. And listen, if you're bringing in a big bag, just check your bag and don't bring in.
I never do a carry-on.
Never. So, but if you're going to do the carry-on and you want to, just keep it within the size. I don't have a problem at all with the airline saying your carry-on's too big, you put too much crap in your bag, and now you have to check it, and you're gonna get charged the money. If that's the deal.
If that's
like some of them you get paid, it's free for a check bag, and some are free. I've had it where it's free for the carry-on bag. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it just depends on that particular flight and how many people have paid for what, but and that may be the case. I mean, I've never really dug into it that much. I just know that
some to the days where you just go on and buy your ticket and go. You don't have to pay for your seats. You don't have to pay for your luggage. You don't have to do any of that.
Well, I mean, they're also making you start paying extra if you want a premier seat at the movie theater. So if you're, like if you want a premier seat, it's kind of like downtown parking, right? Hey, if you want to be 2 blocks from Main Street, you can park for free. But if you're going to park on Main Street, we're going to charge you because it's premier parking, and so we want you to turn the space over.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to all of it, I guess.
That's true. All right, so my next story, which is right up your alley, you're gonna love this and thank God we live in a single story home. So a man in the UK miraculously survived after sustaining a broken neck, fractured spine, smashed ribs, blood in his lungs, and other car crash evoking injuries from tripping over his cat. So he has
I can't tell you how close I've come to this, ladies and gentlemen. So we had no cats. I've never had a cat, and not in the house. When I lived in the country, we had cats, kill the mice and stuff like that. But now, how many do we have, Ben?
We have 6.
We have 6. And so we had as many as...
Well, we have 5 technically. One came with the house.
I don't know that we have any technically, but we feed them. They all stay in the house. And
well, it comes and goes.
yeah. And we had as many as 8.
Anyway, I have more to this.
And so I was just kind of, I'm feeling for this guy. Because
we've actually had more than 8, just so you know, but this is exactly what I'm talking about, that we could get another kitten and you just wouldn't even know, because you just totally proved my point. So thank you. So anyway, so let me get back to my nonsense story. So disaster struck after the wrinkly kitty, because it's a Sphinx, so that means no fur, right?
Oh, okay.
Just skin. Was apparently feeling playful and dove out, latched on to the guy's leg as he was getting ready to go down the steps, and apparently took a big chunk out of his leg.
Now, is this something that's on TikTok, or is this just something you read?
No, I read this. So the guy...
That'd be a funny video. We'd have to go to video.
Oh, that would be horrible. Oh, with all those injuries. Oh, that'd be terrible. But so he reportedly tumbled down 14 steps before arriving at the bottom, where he was unable to move when his feline put the hell in Hello Kitty. They said it. I didn't say it. Anyway, the massively injured man obviously didn't realize the extent of his injuries, but it comes that his phone's dead. So he's laying at the bottom of the steps. His phone's dead. He could not get up. And now his wife is working nights. So she's not home. He can't even call her to...
Do we know how old
to
he
help
is?
him. I would say he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
And so he...
It's a cautionary tale, ladies and gentlemen. A cautionary.
So he laid at the bottom of the steps in his own blood for 14 hours.
Oh.
Until his wife came home. She came home and he's, of course, is yelling for her as soon as she walks in the door, and she runs over and sees him laying there in his own blood. They call the paramedics, get him to the hospital. And so they said that he had all of his injuries were a fractured skull, a broken bone in his neck, 2 fractures in his spine, 9 broken ribs, and each rib had multiple fractures, and he had some blood in his lungs. But it says that he'll be, he's far from out of the woods. They say it'll be at least 6 to 12 months until he's back on his feet.
Lord.
He's now having seizures. So now he's doing something for the seizures, and he can't breathe without oxygen right now until his lungs heal. And he has to go back and forth to the hospital to have everything drained. But he doesn't blame the cat for anything because he's young and adorable. His own words.
I mean, my question is the cat still playful, or was it being spiteful over something?
The cat is playful. The cat doesn't know. Why is the cat being spiteful?
Sometimes they're spiteful, but...
They're not. They're not spiteful. They could be if they're listening.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, just truly an unfortunate story that could have really been a catastrophe. So...
Did you get that, ladies and gentlemen? The the cat.
Fortunate story.
Unfortunate.
That did not turn into a catastrophe.
I don't know what's funnier. The little joke or the fact that you think it's so funny.
I think it's hilarious. Because I came up with them.
I like it.
I came up with them.
Good. Yeah.
All right. So on every episode now, I'm asking a question.
Oh boy. I didn't bring a question today.
That's okay. So here's my question, and it actually goes towards your story today is, how important does a person have to be before they are considered assassinated instead of just murder?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow. What an interesting question. Did you Google this answer?
I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't. So I don't know if there is a true answer, but...
Yeah, I think an assassination is more politically motivated, where a murder is maybe...
Aren't they saying he was assassinated? They're calling it the assassinator.
I guess they did in
or
some
the
news
assassin.
reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's, probably something that negatively impacts. I don't know that it's this simple, right? But you just asked me this, so I'm going to go with, here's my first thought, is that probably has to do something with, the media sensation of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? The length of how long the media will follow it, because like they call them the OJ murders, even though we watched that for years, right? It wasn't, oh, OJ assassinated Nicole Brown Simpson. They were they were murdered. And so, but the two people he murdered were supposedly crimes of passion, family, and did not have the ability to destroy a company, its stock, or impact the economy, create a war, or have political upheaval because of it. So I think I kind of throw assassination in that level.
Okay.
Versus a murder, which is obviously just as bad, but probably doesn't have the level of impact on others and doesn't have, outside the family, outside of, like this could impact the economy. If it then snowballs into major insurance reform, let's say, that then causes insurance company stocks to fall, that whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you could speculate this down a million different roads, which I'm not knowledgeable enough to take us down those roads, but I think that's where I would probably say it's an assassination. So since he's the CEO of a huge company, I would say that if in fact he was the intended target, that's how they're defining assassination.
Okay.
But maybe we'll have the real answer on our next episode.
Well, and isn't it how they say, like if you were shot today, but you didn't die until, say, Saturday, you were still murdered today because
that's the event.
It's the event. You were, even though you didn't die from it.
Interesting.
At that
I don't
time.
think I knew that.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
They would call you murdered on the day of the event.
They call you murdered on the day of the event because
the murder occurred.
Yes.
On this day.
You died
even
from
though
that
you died subsequent.
Yep.
Days or weeks later.
Yep.
That makes sense,
right?
though. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that
We're
is
learning tons of stuff here.
I know, right? It's kind of nice doing this podcast because we have these conversations all the time, and yet nobody hears them but us. I don't know if anybody thinks they're as interesting as we do, but hey, I guess we'll find out.
We'll see if we get a following.
Yeah.
If you did listen, hit like and follow and share with your friends.
We are now streaming on all of your favorite streaming platforms. So we're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, iHeart. Did I say Pandora?
I think so.
Okay.
Apple,
Podbean. We're on them all. So definitely like us, and
YouTube. Is that reasonable?
YouTube. Yep. YouTube. We're on YouTube, and Rumble. We're on Rumble. So definitely like our stuff. Give us comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you want to appear, we'd love to have you. And I guess that is the end of our third episode. So keep your arguments reasonable and your nonsense fun.